Hey everyone, I'm Sandi, the Badass Business Coach, here again for another week of No More Excuses, the weekly podcast. And this week, lucky you, we're doing a video as well. And you probably see this beautiful face, Sevilla Beam, one of my bitches, one of my tribe. And she is a CPA and a partner at Crayson Beam. So I have her on this week, because I like to have now quarterly guests on to talk about how to elevate your business. And this theme this year has been how to level up. So we're going to talk to her in just a second, but I want to thank you again for being here. I really always appreciate you guys connecting with me, reaching out. I just had someone email me this morning that they're a listener, and I forgot to look at see where they are, but 84 countries the podcast is in. So that's kind of cool. I always like hearing, I want to know who my person in, it's like Uruguay. How do you say that? Is that right?
I
have like one download from there. I was like, who is that? So if you're listening and you're that person, reach out and let me know. And thank you again for being here and sharing the podcast with others. And last week, I talked about that 4-letter word, work, because nothing works unless you do. And we're going to continue building on that theme. And now you got to work with your taxes, right? Yes.
It's the most exciting part.
It is. And so this week, Sevilla is going to be amazing and help you by giving you, well, not really 3. She'll give you 3 tips at the end on how to help, but she's going to talk about the mistakes business owners make in their taxes. And I'm sure I've done it all. She's helping me and my man Candy Tad as well. And yeah, she always enjoys that. Luckily we were friends first, right? So again, thanks for being here. And Sevilla, yes, talk to us about the mistakes that we as business owners make all the time.
Sure. So as we all know, even though accounting is not the sexiest part of your work or what you're doing, it's truly one of the most important parts of your business. So we want to make sure that from the jump, you've got a handle on how to work your accounting system. What does that look like? How does that translate into what you can and can't deduct? And then ultimately, how does that mean you're being taxed? What taxes are you subject to? What's your entity type? These are all things that I see a lot of business owners have no clue about when they first come into my office, or even if they've been running their business for 9, 12, 18 months, they may come in and still have not a good idea about any of these things. So the most important thing that I tell people from the get-go, make sure you have a record-keeping system, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet, whether it's the folder method. I've seen some of my clients do that where they've got, a big folder and they just stick their receipts in there. But really, most ideally, I want to see you using some sort of online system. QuickBooks Online is what I recommend to all my clients. We do bookkeeping and accounting for our clients, and that's the system we use. It's what we use for our own firm books. It's just really comprehensive. It's really easy, but it's super important no matter what method you choose, to choose something you can stick to and you're going to be consistent with, and that you can look at on a monthly, quarterly basis and know, am I making money? Am I losing money? Are my expenses in line? Did I spend a whole lot more in this area this quarter than I did last quarter? Why is that? Is my contractor expense, going up or down? And why is that? You need to be able to see your bottom line, because that's going to translate ultimately into obviously what you owe in taxes, which is important to stay ahead of, because once you get behind that tax 8 ball, it's really hard to get back ahead of it. So that's the first thing that I always tell new business owners, is just have some sort of system you can stick to. The other thing that I see a lot is people just don't know what they can and can't deduct. People are scared of the IRS. People are scared of, these entities that are going to send you love letters and notices and, oh, am I going to get audited? But that's why you need to talk to a professional, because I can easily just give you a quick PDF that says, hey, here's the main things you can look at to deduct. Also, here's the things you absolutely cannot deduct. You can't deduct getting your nails done. I wish I could. You can't deduct getting your hair done. You can't, there's certain things you can't deduct your wardrobe. I wish I could. But you also need to be vigilant about your expense keeping with that record keeping system, because you don't want to leave money on the table. I don't want you paying any more to Uncle Sam than you have to. So you need to be vigilant. And if you don't know, just ask. Most of my clients have my cell phone number because I'm, if they don't know, just shoot me a quick text. I'll tell you yes or no. And that's something that we also help our clients with on a quarterly basis. We can go in and just kind of do a quick review on that QuickBooks and see how it looks. And are you getting carried away with the expenses? Is that truly business related? But just knowing what you can and can't deduct is important. And then the last thing is most people just don't understand how their taxes work when it comes to owning a business. They don't understand the entity type that they are and how that means they're going to be taxed. And then ultimately, a lot of people don't even know about estimated tax payments. Once you're a business owner and you don't have anybody remitting payroll taxes for you to the IRS throughout the year, you're going to get to the end of the year. And if you made money, yay, but then you got to write a check. And I always tell my clients, if we're writing checks, that means you're making money. That's a good thing. But what I don't want to happen is we get to March and I finish your tax return. I say, hey, Sandy, you owe $12,000 to the IRS. And Sandy says, don't have it. That's when we get behind the 8 ball. So I always tell my clients, check in with me on a quarterly basis, especially as that new business owner. Let's make sure that if you're dropping money to the bottom line, that we're sending in some estimated tax payments. And let's make sure you understand, if, for example, you're a sole proprietor, you're going to be subject to self-employment taxes and income taxes. So we've got to know going into that, hey, here's a good rough percentage to put aside and make sure that when it is estimated tax time, you've already got a little bank account there that you can write those checks from. It makes it a lot easier for a lot of my business owners. And then also, going into that is how do I pay myself? What does that mean? Do I do a bank transfer? Do I put myself on payroll? Again, that's going to depend on your entity type. So understanding how you set yourself up or how your attorney set you up, and then knowing how that means you need to be paying yourself. And then that's also going to still affect the different types of taxes that you are going to be subject to. So I guess to kind of recap, the 3 main things that I see a lot is not being committed to your record keeping. Mm-hmm. Super important. And also, if you can't commit to it, you're too busy running your business, which is great. Find somebody who can.
Right.
The next thing is just a lot of underreporting, not understanding what you can and can't deduct. And then the last thing, just getting educated on the taxes. How am I going to be taxed? When am I going to be taxed? How do I stay ahead of it? And how do I plan for it?
That's awesome. And it's interesting because just the other day I heard someone talking about, I'm not even sure. Well, I believe she's a CPA. She was talking about a client of hers that new client just came to her, started a nonprofit probably 7 years ago, but has never done anything with it. Mm-hmm. But didn't know that they had to pay. There's like a fee, and now owes $50,000 to Uncle Sam because even though he did absolutely nothing, he just thought, oh, I'm going to have a nonprofit and it's going to sit there.
Mm-hmm. No, not how that works.
Yeah. So if any of you out there started a nonprofit and you've not done anything with it, you might want to call Sevilla Beam.
And that's like really for any entity type. I have clients that set up a partnership and just let it sit there. But once you set that up with the IRS, they're going to expect a tax return. And if you don't send one in, they're going to assess some penalties and fines. So
when I remember years ago, I've had multiple businesses, and I was shutting one down because I was no longer going to do that one. And I faxed and overnighted and mailed copies of the paperwork to shut it down multiple times because I was like, I just wanted to make sure it was shut down. But you hear those, I'm sure you hear those horror stories all the time. And what do you think about the book Profit First? Have you heard of it or looked into it?
No, I don't think that I have.
Oh, I should have. I just actually got it. It was ironically, Hazel Walker, BNI. Mm-hmm. It was the guy she wrote a book with, but he wrote Profit First on his own. And I heard him speak on that concept because it is that whole pay yourself first, but then we're like, oh, but we've got to pay taxes, all that. I don't know. I haven't really read into it, but the concept was interesting to me about how to divide up the different when you get a check, how to really divide it up. And like he was even saying, like, hide the money from yourself.
Yes.
So you can pay the taxes quarterly.
Yeah, I've got clients that, so they'll set up, and I actually recommend it to some of my clients, they'll set up the Capital One savings accounts. They're more high interest yielding anyway, but also you can't access that money right away. Whereas if you've bank at Chase and you've got your Chase business savings, you can just transfer it whenever you want on your phone, easy peasy.
Yeah.
But you've got one of those Capital One accounts, it usually takes 24 to 72 hours to hit. So you're less likely to just go dip into that whenever you feel like.
That's okay. So is that like a Capital One, like the credit card Capital One?
Yeah, they have online savings accounts that you can open.
Because I have a Capital One card. It's just kind of sitting there. I'll look into that. Because because it's like that thing. I have another account because of COVID and getting PPP loan. I have another account at a small bank. And so I literally was writing myself a check and putting it over there because I don't even keep the debit card in my wallet. And I don't even know where the bank is. So that's probably good. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. And listeners, don't forget, if you're listening to this on the podcast and you want to see our beautiful faces, go to YouTube and find us. And then, because and that, as Sevilla mentioned, making sure you're set up properly. Last quarter in March, I had Karen Young on, a business attorney. So if you want to make sure you're set up properly and you don't know how you are, make sure you find an attorney as well. And so every week, I always give you some challenges, some homework. So this week, Sevilla, what things could these people do, the listeners do, to take steps to make sure they're set up properly or they're going to save money?
Sure. So I think right now is a great time of year to assess your profit and loss year to date. You know, we're halfway through the year. Let's look and see, are we making money? What's that look like? If we're not, why is that? That's a whole other thing that we need to look into. But if we are making money, let's make sure that we've got some estimated tax payments out there. Next ones are due in September. So you've got some time, but now it's just a great time to pull up that profit and loss and take a look at it, really dive into it and see what you can find out.
Cool. That's great. And yes, so listeners, you've been hearing me in June harp about the year's half over. Where are you? So it's reviewing your goals. And now Sevilla is telling you to review your profit and loss statement. And I looked at mine the other day. So, because I also needed to get into QuickBooks and start categorizing some things. So so that is great tips, great information. And I really appreciate it. And Sevilla, how can they get a hold of you?
So if you need any help and you want to reach out to Crace and Beam, you can just go to craceandbeam.com. That's CRACE and Beam, BEAM as in Mary.com, and reach out to myself or my partner, Jason Crace, and we'll get you on the right track.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And listeners, thank you again for being here and have a great week. Cheers.